We're also running the dry house right now, so I'm monitoring our thick stillage level and making sure that it stays at a sustainable level for us running the dryer, which is producing some DDG for us today, or DDGS. So that is currently doing its thing.
That's so freaking cool.
So this is a sneak peek behind the scenes tour of Heaven Hill's new spring distillery. This is a immaculate facility, all brand new, highly automated. Jeremy, our tour guide, was amazing. This is only for the Concierge Club, which I am not a part of, but I was a +1 for somebody who was. So hang around. It is a long video, but I think it's worth it. There's little sneak peek information about the VVS drop that happened the other day and maybe what's coming down the pike. So yep, it's about a 50-minute video. Hopefully you can watch it all. There's also a great interview basically with Sydney Jones, who was a distiller over at F.E.W and now runs this place by the looks of it. So yeah, hang around and check it out.
So as Connoisseur Circle members, we appreciate you being a part of that exclusive club. And we want to do something special for our Connoisseur Circle members, and so you're going to get a sneak peek completely behind the scenes. Grand opening is set here for September 4th. That's for media, internal employees. And then hopefully the following Monday is when actual public tours will start. We're bumping up construction to grand opening date. So a lot of what you'll get to see today is off limits to the general public. So we want to show you some specials, truly behind the scene, VIP type scenarios and equipment. So we'll take good care of you today. But I like to start out here because we've not distilled in Bardstown since November 7th, 1996. That's when that catastrophic fire wiped out 7 rick houses, close to 100,000 barrels, $30 million in damage, and the original Heaven Hill Springs Distillery built in 1935. It's always been a dream of the Shapiro family to return distillation back to Bardstown. Just waiting on the perfect opportunity. 1999, we buy the Bernheim Distillery from United, now Diageo. In 1999, we bought Bernheim, which is now the world's largest single-site distillery. Other distilleries can produce more throughout various sites. Bernheim's the largest single-site distillery in the world. It can turn out 450,000 barrels a year if the demand is there. We're going to match that here. If the demand is ever needed for 900,000 barrels a year, we'll have that capacity once we get to phase 3. So in 1999, we buy the Bernheim Distillery. We buy Christian Brothers Brandy and a label that you may or may not heard of, Old Fitzgerald. That all kind of happened there about the same time from United. Same time United's dividing up their weeded portfolio. That's when Sazerac gets Weller. That's when Luxco gets like Rebel Yell. That's when we get a hold of the Old Fitz label. So we're making a lot of whiskey, award-winning whiskey at the Bernheim Distillery in downtown Louisville. But since Bardstown is home to Heaven Hill, we couldn't wait to get back. But we've had to wait for the right opportunity because that's one of the great things about Heaven Hill is we've weathered some storms. The Shapiro family has been the largest independent family-owned and operated distillery in the United States. They get to make decisions that are perfect for the legacy, for the history, and for the family. They wanted to come back, and then a few years ago, 60-plus acres right here went up for sale. This was just a piece of farm that belonged to a local family. No direct tie to Heaven Hill, but it's a flat piece of property in a good location in Bardstown. Anywhere from 62 to 66 acres. I've heard various numbers on that. But regardless, a large flat piece of property right here in Bardstown. And so when you're going to spend $200 million on a project, you want to make sure it's done right. And you're going to see that they did everything right. But one of the big things that they wanted to do, because Bardstown is home, is Kate, Alan, and Max. They wanted a distillery that Bardstown was proud of. Like we're literally in somebody's backyard. Across that street is a residential neighborhood. So Kate, Allen, and Max, they wanted Bardstown to be proud that Heaven Hill Distillery is back. They wanted the neighbors to be proud to look out their back door and see this distillery. So they put a little extra thought, a little extra effort into making a very beautiful distillery that's aesthetically pleasing. We could have saved a lot of money just by building just a plain, sterile-looking distillery, but we spared no expense, and we really put a lot of thought into the design. Jeff sent a text like, "Why are people camping out already?" And everybody started thinking about BBS being released, and then we find out after the fact that the Rob Report, Columns wrote an article, didn't tell us that they were writing an article, and it was just by sheer luck that we had BBS, because Casey was trying to stretch out the schedule. So without knowing about that article, she just said, "I've got to drop some today unexpectedly, or Saturday." So had she just not made that decision on like Thursday, but because of the calendar, that article went out because there wasn't any communication between comms and us. So there's been a lot of upset people.
Certain parts of this building are really loud with the still running, but this is one of the coolest sort of still gauge things that I've ever seen running through the Heaven Hill logo there. That's a bit of a flex. And you can see the first column still in the background, and then there's holes for 3 more. They're going to be in like a triangle. So you've probably heard or will hear 500 barrels a day right now, and going up to 1,500 barrels a day when all 3 phases are in place, and all run by automation and 5 people. Go the robots. So after this, we're going to head off to the control room where all the magic happens, and Sydney Jones will run us through the whole thing. And that sign you saw over there, you'll see it a bit later, but they found it behind some siding on a bar, so they got it off the farmer.
He was just saying that you guys run the whole plant.
We do, yeah. Do you guys want to come in and see
Yeah.
the control room? Yeah.
I'm a controls engineer, so yeah.
Yeah, so you probably are very familiar with Rockwell.
Oh yeah. Love-hate relationship with Rockwell.
So we can monitor everything throughout the entire facility on these screens.
That's crazy. And he was saying like 5 people to run the whole plant, basically?
More or less, yeah. So we have corresponding automation that goes with any procedure that we might need. So if we were receiving rain, it's a single button and it's connected to all of these devices in a sequential ladder logic type of sequencing. We have pages for our yeast system when it comes online.
It's Rockwell, it'll take a while.
Well, and it's also doing quite a bit right now as
Yeah.
well. We have mashing here, fermentation is on this next page with all of our active ferments. And then what we're monitoring right now is distillation because the still is moving. We're also running the dry house right now, so I'm monitoring our thick stillage level and making sure that it stays at a sustainable level for us running the dryer, which is producing some DDG for us today, or DDGS. So that is currently doing its thing.
That's so freaking cool.
Do you guys have any production specific questions while y'all are in here?
There's people to ask.
Yeah.
So who came up with this concept?
I'm sorry?
So who came up with this concept on how to get it so automated?
Connor O'Driscoll, our master distiller, is very, very passionate about automation, but automation right now is kind of the industry standard for operations of our size. The beauty with automation is that you can get extraordinarily consistent whiskey that you're not able to get with manual operation. And I say that as someone who did manual operation for 8 years.
Sure.
Automation also allows us to collect more data than you would with a typically manual operation. We have temperature sensors, we have pressure sensors, we have flow control valves. We can be very, very precise and we can collect a lot of feedback as we're running automated processes. So overall, the more consistent we can make our distillate, the better our quality team can take that and create really world-class whiskey. You know, we only run 5 mash bills out of here, and the more consistent we can get those mash bills, the better our maturation program will shine through.
Do you have like redundancy and stuff? So if certain pumps go down, is the whole plant shut down? Or?
No, so we do have a fair amount of redundancy. We can manually bypass certain things. We can put our programming into operator mode and manipulate machinery while it's going through its sequence, which we sometimes need to do. Automation is not foolproof. And this is a new facility, and we're still troubleshooting quite a few bugs in the system right now. A lot of our actuating valves will have manual bypasses on them that you can see. So that sort of thing has been built into the system for operator safety, as well as for any time something goes down, because it's not if, it's a when.
How long is your fermentation process? How many days?
So we can go anywhere between 4 to 6 days. We're currently collecting data on what is best for our whiskey that we're making here. Some key differences with what we're making right now: it's not in spec Heaven Hill whiskey. We're not using backset, so it's not a sour mash whiskey, and that's what we make at Bernheim. We don't have backset available right now because we're still bringing the dry house online, and that is the tank that will store that backset for us. B, we're not running our live yeasting system yet. We're using dry yeast, similar to what they do at Bernheim, but for us here, in spec whiskey will be backset added and live yeast. So once we have those data points and we're making consistent Heaven Hill whiskey to the specs that we have set here, we're going to be playing around between a 4, a 5, and a 6 day beer and seeing where we get our best yields. There are advantages with running a shorter beer. You can turn and burn your fermenters a lot faster, which is great for productivity. Longer beers, however, you can see some really cool esterification happen longer term with a cooler fermentation. So we're trying to see what best will maximize not only our flavor, but also the proof gallons we get off of each batch.
Without killing the yeast.
I'm sorry?
Without killing the yeast, right?
I mean, the yeast is going to die regardless. Yeah, we're not doing a similar yeasting system to like what you would see in beer, where they're collecting that yeast off the bottom because it'll flock out. We are constantly subculturing yeast in our lab and working with a fresh batch every time. So the yeast are screwed regardless. They're going to die off every time.
What do you do with the out-of-spec whiskey?
We put it in barrels. Yeah, so we've laid up over 13,000 barrels right now. Just because it's out of spec does not mean it's bad.
It might be like, so it's like a sweet mash whiskey, basically?
Yeah, everything we're doing right now is sweet mash. So the first Heaven Hill Springs whiskey that will hit the market will be sweet mash whiskey. So that'll be its own unique thing, but it will be a limited run, and that is the qualities department's problem 6 to 7 years down the road. That's not going to be my issue.
What are like the common challenges or issues that you have with running this through automation and getting it, like, what are the issues that are common that you guys have to deal with?
So as we've been navigating startup, there has been a lot of unpredictability with automation. You can design automation and run it virtually, and it can be flawless, but there are a lot of things in the field that won't necessarily line up to what you're seeing on the screens. This facility has been built out over the past 3 years and has seen a lot of contractors come and go. At no fault, it's just in the construction business, you'll have contractors that are there for a season. So Billy Bob may have installed a pump 2.5 years ago, and we are just now finding out that that pump was installed backwards. And that can only be done by trying to run it through the system because we have so many devices in this building. So it's things along that nature where what has been designed on the screens and what has been designed from our plans don't necessarily always line up with what was actually designed in the field.
Do you have one automation company that does all the design? And
we do. Opus Integration. We've been working with them for years and years. They also work on the automation for our Bernheim facility as well. So they have been instrumental. They're here on site today as well, working through the dry house.
Cool.
Other questions?
Do you miss Evanston?
Do I miss Evanston? I do. Evanston was really great. I love Chicago. I'm really proud of the whiskey that I made when I was at F.E.W. I think it's outstanding and is true batch style distillation, which I do love. It was gorgeous and great food and things like that. But I love Bardstown. I grew up in a similar small town to Bardstown, so this feels very similar to home.
Do you think you'll ever get the chance to do some variants here as far as distilling is concerned and do smaller batch type work? Or?
We're pretty much set on our batch sizes because each of our fermentation tanks is 80,000 gallons. So yeah, one batch for us is still going to be a pretty decent sized batch of whiskey. That being said, we do fully anticipate bringing in the other Heaven Hill mash bills, like the Old Fitz mash bill, the rye mash bill, the wheat mash bill, and the corn mash bill, as well as some other Heaven Hill products like single malt and Baby Jane. Baby Jane utilizes a red corn hybrid between Waspy Valley and Bloody Butcher, if I remember correctly. And Bernheim has ran that, and I'm sure we'll run that over here as well. So at this point, it's up to Connor's discretion what we run here. And I'm not mad about that, so yeah. Any other questions?
Getting picked up on it in Sydney's first rodeo. She came to us from F.E.W. If you ever want to nerd out over distilling, she got a really cool podcast as well.
Oh, I do have a podcast. Yeah, it's called the Spirits and Distilling Podcast. You can listen to it on Spotify or anywhere else. And it's distillers talking to other distillers. So
Cool.
And then this is Dom. Dom is one of my technicians. Dom came from Jim Beam and is an incredible asset to our team. He knows everything about everything. He's extraordinarily mechanically minded, and he can tell you anything you could ever want to know about our pumps and our valves and all sorts of other stuff. So, yeah. He's also an Eagles fan, but we don't hold it.
Oh man, you were this close.
It's the main responsibility for sitting behind the screen to make sure nothing goes wrong.
Essentially, yeah. You would think that you can walk away from automation, but you really can't. There is a lot of really dangerous things being done. There's steam, there's heat, there's ethanol in the air. So we need to be able to interfere if something were to go wrong, and you would be surprised the things that can go wrong.
Yeah, this track's actually what's happening.
Exactly. Yeah. So I like to stay close by. We at least want one person in this control room at all times.
As long as the distilling process is going on.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're nearing a 24/7 operation soon. So hopefully by October we'll be doing 2 shifts a day, 7 days a week.
So what's your normal day look like that you're here?
Normally I come in, we get to work at 6 a.m. and we get to 6 p.m. So they're 12-hour shifts. We have a process called daily direction setting, which is part of a lean manufacturing model. So it essentially is identifying our KPIs for the week and our top losses and our top action items for the day. So we'll get aligned on that. Right now we are waiting to hear from the dry house on when we can fire the still, but typically our big things that we focus on is getting the still to work through whatever fermentation is ready to distill. Filling up tankers of distillate to ship over to our cistern room for filling into barrels, receiving freight, so getting corn, rye, and malt deliveries in, mashing, that's a big one. The mashing sequence is extraordinarily complicated, so we really have to pay a lot of attention. We do a lot of quality work, so we'll take beer chemistry throughout the day, especially if we're doing mashing. We'll assist maintenance with daily preventative maintenance tasks as well. So the day goes by pretty fast. It's pretty steady with the tasks that we have to do, but there are a lot of them.
So no sitting around watching videos.
No, not as much as you would think. Yeah.
Just that video.
I was gonna say,
This is my favorite TV show.
just looking at that stresses me out.
Yeah, you know, it's not as bad as you would think. Yeah, and it's flowing really, really nicely right now. So we don't have to do too much of it. The nice thing about a still of this size and column stills in general is that once they go, they go. They're very steady state. Pot stills are a little bit more finicky and they require a little bit more babysitting. But this guy, he will go as long as we feed beer to him, and he'll stay steady as long as we feed a consistent flow of beer to him. So, batch style distillation is a pain in the ass, but it's done.
All that looks overwhelming, but between automation and just over time anyway, it's something that you really you just kind of pick up, like what's normal, what's not normal. So it's just all just kind of experience. I joke all the time. We could probably teach a goldfish how to run like the distillery on this end, but it's just something you get like as you go.
So how does this facility compare to the operations at Beam? Beam looks like it's been there for like 100+ years, and it just looks like an old.
I don't necessarily want to talk bad.
No. That's why I said, what's different about this compared to
yeah.
that?
So a lot of it is there was a lot of adding later. So there's a lot of stuff that's not necessarily 90,000 gallons in one beer wheel. So that's phase one. That's going to make 500 barrels a day. And so right now in phase one, we're making about 250 barrels a day. We're waiting on the 500 mark until we get the dry house fully commissioned. And so it's really close to being operational.
maybe by the end of this month, maybe mid-September, it should be up and running. And so once we get the dry house completed, then we're going to ramp up production to 500 barrels a day. So again, just based on demand, we'll do 500 second column still, 9 more fermenters. That'll get us 1,000 barrels a day. Then in a third column still, 9 more fermenters for 28 total. That'll get us to 1,500 barrels a day, which then is exactly what Bernheim's doing.
Right.
So if the demand's there, we do 900,000 barrels a year. That's making a lot of whiskey. So in production, we thought about the 3-phase rollout. Who knows what the market's going to do? It's up and down right now. And so one of the things about doing a 3-phase rollout is you're not invested so much in equipment if you don't need it. And so now we can just roll it out by phases. Once we get close to needing over 2,000 barrels a day, then we can start to work on phase 2. I'm willing to bet some of the equipment's already ordered because Vendome has about a 2-year wait list on a column still. So I bet we're on the wait list somewhere just when this time's ready. Also, when thinking about production, they took everything that Bernheim got right. Because Bernheim, to be such a massive production facility, they got a lot right. There's a few things that they didn't get quite right that they wanted to fix here. So Bernheim literally sits on one city block with no room to expand out. So all the expansion is on top of each other. That's why it's not open to the public. You're climbing over pipes. It is a disaster to try to walk through. Hey Debbie, how are you? Spent over 20 years in the whiskey world. And so he brought some innovation here as well. Whenever you go to the distillery, most fermenters are on the ground. When that fermenter breaks or there's an issue, a spill, you got to turn a wrench. It's a nightmare for maintenance because you got to get on your stomach, on your back, you got to crawl around. Cotter said, let's put these things up on legs. So maintenance just walked up and turned a wrench without having to get down and do all kinds of funky positions to fix it. Also, you're going to see everything is sloped a little bit. That way, if you have to drain, because we do steam clean these, or if there ever is a leak, it'll go right through the drain, so no issues, anything backing up. Again, they thought about everything. Also, in production, to have a facility this size, it takes a lot of manpower to run production. And so 5 people at one time can run the entire facility.
Where's the stairs?
Stairs are right here. Take stairs or elevator.
Oh, okay. No wonder I couldn't find it.
So just 5 people running the entire production. You'll typically see about 22 people on site. You start adding in the environmental team, safety team, but 5 people in production can run from start to finish. To borrow from Connor, you got whiskey on, whiskey off. We're that automated.
How many finally will be working here, like when they finally get up to full production capacity?
That's when you'll see it. It'll still be around 5. You'll still see it stacked about 22. That's not going to change at all with any significance, which is kind of crazy. So the entire distillery, from the guard shack, you can operate it. From the grain lab, where they unload the trucks, you can operate it. Again, it's called the whiskey on, whiskey off. As we walk in, you're going to see the fermenters. They're a little bit smaller than Bernheim. Bernheim's 124,000 gallons. These are 90,000 gallons and change. We're going to fill them up about 84,000 gallons. We're going to ferment 4 to 6 days. We're going to let that mash ferment to about 10 to 12% ABV. That's when it becomes our distiller's beer. We'll put it in the beer well and then pump it into the tank. When you look at these fermenters, I mean, they're going to be clean. I've seen grown men have a tear come down their face when they see the beads on these weld jobs. If you're in the maintenance and in welding, it's quite impressive. The 7,000 cases of Elijah Craig is what each fermenter is going to represent. So it's going to produce a lot of whiskey. So let's walk in. Nothing's off limits for pictures. Feel free to take in and feel free to talk. Have any questions? Just let me know. This is off limits to the public, so this is one of the things you're seeing today that will not be open to the general public.
When you do the open it to the public, I heard you're not actually doing it here. Everyone goes to.
Right. So there's no access here, so you can't just drive through Bardstown and say, I want to check out the distillery today. You've got to go to the visitor center, buy your ticket, you'll get on a bus, they'll bus you here, and then you'll catch they'll run that bus loop every 30 minutes. So you can catch that bus, go back to your vehicle at the visitor center. So it'll be, I think it's going to be a hot ticket to grab because there's maybe 6 tours a day, 12 people limit per tour for most parts. It's going to be a hot item, I think.
Secret special door.
Wow. Next to the lock right now. Steel usually shuts off by about 10 o'clock in the morning because we're only making food for the barrel.
Now that they built this like this, maintenance guys redo all the other.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be jealous when they.
Awesome.
Yeah, do the Bernheim guys want to move over here?
I think some actually came over.
Oh, yeah.
So when we're ready for phase 2, we'll take that wall out. We'll add 9 more fermenters. When we get around back, you'll see the gravel slab is already there. Just got to add concrete, add the fermenters, re-enclose it. Then we need phase 3. We'll do the same thing the third time.
I was going to ask why 9 and not 10, but I suppose so you've got an empty spot here to do in and out.
Probably add another beer well pretty soon as well. Right before the stage, we'll get 10 to 12% ABV. That's when we'll pump it over to the beer well. The beer well, we're going to pipe it over next door to that column steel. So our column steel is 66 inches in diameter, so it's a big one. About 60 feet tall. We use the thumper, not the thumper. So when you get to the 3rd floor, you won't see a low line, top box, high line. Since we use that thumper that grabs the vapor and then turns it into to liquid, you'll just see that that new mate come off at about 140 proof is where you like to grab that. We have 22 plates. There's an entry level in 3 different spots for the distiller's beer. Typically they go in at about plate 18. Heat, steam from the bottom, and that mash is going to come in from the top. Right the following Monday, I think construction's supposed to end on September 3rd, so we'll be back to that pretty close. Right. First floor of the still house on the right, you're going to see the surge tank. The surge tank is the finished product that comes off the thumper, runs to the spirit safe. The surge tank is going to regulate that new make before it goes across the parking lot behind the boiler room to the holding tanks. Those holding tanks is where those semi trucks will come. They'll fill those tankers up. They'll take it back up by the business center where we still fill every barrel. So if you're standing at the business center to the left, there's a brown metal building. That's our system room. That's where everything from Bernheim comes to get barreled. That's where everything from here will go to get barreled. So we'll go into a tank. Then it'll go into a gauging tank. We're going to proof it down to 125 with RO water. Then fill those barrels. Right now we're filling 750 barrels a day. At the bottling plant, at the very back of the bottling plant is the harvest room. That's where we dump our barrels. So we're filling 750 in the cistern room. Right now we're dumping 1,200 a day in the harvest room.
Wow. So you're dumping more than you're dumping more than you're dumping. Or you got a whole stock.
Yeah. And we like to age a little while too, so we want to save some room to put some extra age stuff in.
So this is down in the heart, right at the bottom floor, where you get to see the stills going down here. So basically, like I said before, there's going to be 3, one just to the left and then one behind it in a triangle pattern, but already this is super impressive. And as you'll go through the video, I am jumping around a little bit, tried to front load the start of the video with some of the good stuff to keep people watching, but there it goes right up, and as you will go along you'll see us go up to the very top and the second level. But yeah, very noisy down here. A lot of steam and all sorts of stuff going on. But it is super cool to see these things, how they look when they're brand new. Like, a lot of distilleries have been around for many tens, hundreds of years, and they are not this clean. So this is the peak of distilling, automation, and building. You can see all the wires and sensors and flow meters, and all that information is being fed back to that control room, and that's why they don't need to physically come down here and turn valves and check pressures, because it's all being done from upstairs. It's pretty cool. Some amazing welding, fabrication work here is just next level.
Yeah. It's normally the part you see, right? Just the upstairs part. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's a secret lab. What does it all mean?
This is the lab that I didn't know. We got 3 labs. I'll take some in just a second. So I'm not going to go very far. I'll just pop in just to see what the visitor center is going to look like. Visitor center is not open. Glass doors, so different merch. I just can't get up top on the hill. Maybe different bottle selection as well. There's your tasting bar, and then here's the production.
So are we going to line up here for our VVS? Are we going to line up here for our VVS in the future, or? No? I'll just go up top. Okay. That's going to be a nice. Let's get ready about something for more. That's going to be nice. Take the elevator down to the tasting bar. That's where your flight's going to be ready. So it won't be a guided tasting like you're getting now at Heaven Hill at the visitor center. But your tour guide will be there to talk you through if you have any questions about what you're tasting. One of the things that we want to do a little bit later, where just so much is happening all at one time, is we'd like to give you the chance when you book your ticket, if you want to add a special pour on to your flight team. So that may be an option later. Also, another option is we'll have a bartender here. So either before your tour or after your tour, if you will still want to hang out, have a drink, cocktail, another pour, you can do that and just wait on the next bus. There'll be some nice furniture, some nice seating. But the tour will actually start right here. So this room sets us apart from Bernheim more than anything else that you're going to see. Like I said, there's a lot of similarity between Bernheim and Springs. This is the key difference. This is our yeast lab. So right now, Bernheim uses dry yeast. Comes in 20-pound blocks. It costs Heaven Hill $80,000 a month. That's our bill for dry yeast. So here, we're going to take live yeast, that same Heaven Hill strain that we've had for a long time. It's going to start as a 250 milliliter vial. From there, we're going to grow it to a 9-liter jug. In that 9-liter jug, we're going to 100 gallons to what we call the donut tank. And that donut tank is going to meet mash and grain for the first time. It's going to keep growing. It's eventually going to produce about 3,500 gallons of yeast. We'll take 3,400 gallons for the fermenters and then keep 100 gallons for the next step. It is that old Heaven Hill yeast strain that we've had since 1935. I think we can prove that it goes back before 1935. One of the people I like to talk about a lot in the Heaven Hill story that doesn't get a lot of attention is the man who's behind him, Joe Beam. Joe is Jim's first cousin, actually. Like any other Beam, Joe makes really good whiskey. That's what Beams do, and they do it well. During Prohibition, Joe Beam actually gets hired by Mary Dowling out of Lawrenceburg. She's in a little bit of trouble during Prohibition for selling whiskey that she's not allowed to sell. She's still making whiskey during Prohibition. She gets in trouble, so they actually take her still down. They ship it to Juarez, Mexico. And so Joe goes to Juarez, Mexico, and makes Mexican bourbon during Prohibition. But he's only there for about 2 years. Stitzel Weller gets their medicinal license, I think, in 29. And so they hire Joe and Joe's son Harry to come to Louisville and make whiskey since they got the medicinal license. Prohibition ends December 5th, 1933, so it's towards the end of the year. States have already started to vote to overturn, ratify the 18th Amendment. That's when Joe gets the idea that since he's a Beam and he can make really good whiskey like all the Beams do, it's time that he makes a legacy for himself. He wants his name on a label. He knows that Americans like to drink whiskey, and if he can get ahead of the game, he can make a fortune for himself and his family. So he gets the idea, as Prohibition's winding down, I want to build my own distillery. Problem is, it's the Great Depression. Juarez, Mexico, and Mary Dowling and Stitzel Weller didn't pay Joe a lot of money, so he doesn't have the resources to build a distillery, and there's not a bank in sight that's going to loan money in the Great Depression to build a startup business. So Joe gets some family and some friends involved because they want to make a little money. They pull their money together to build this distillery, but they're still short. That's when Joe gets the great idea. Since he's a Beam and can make whiskey, there's a guy in town who has some brothers that are very successful and now fairly wealthy. Ed Shapiro. So Ed and his 4 brothers, they have a chain of junior department stores that they open in the building called the Old Louisville Store. The business concept of the Old Louisville Store is let's bring all the specialty items that you need, suits and ties and socks and shoes and dresses. Instead of having to travel during the Great Depression from rural Kentucky to Lexington, Louisville, Owensboro, Paducah to the bigger cities, let's bring those items to rural Kentucky. Not just specialty items, let's bring daily items and things that you're going to need on a day-to-day basis. They become very successful, very wealthy. I think at the height of the Old Louisville Store, they had 16 operational at one time. So Joe goes to Ed and basically pitches this idea. Since I can make whiskey, I have the knowledge on how to produce it. You have a great business sense. You've got the financial resources to fund this. If we go into business together, we can actually make a fortune. I don't know how long the deliberations took place, but they decided to go into business together. I think Max told me it took about 8 months to build the distillery from ground up. And so what they're doing is they go into business together and they start building that old Heaven Hill Springs distillery. They fill the very first barrel December 13th, which is a Friday, 1935. The problem in the bourbon business is there's no immediate profit. There's no revenue coming in immediately. So Joe and the other investors are forced to sell out. Ed and his 4 brothers, they have all kinds of revenue coming in from the Old Louisville stores. So that's when Heaven Hill becomes an independent, family-owned operating company. And now for 90, we're waiting on our 90th year. So 90 years will be that family-owned and operating company, the largest independent, family-owned and operated distillery in the United States. And it does make a difference. We're proud to be family-owned and operated. Even though Joe sells out, Joe hangs around and becomes our first official master distiller. Then Joe's son, Harry, becomes, I think, our first official master distiller. Then when Harry's done, his nephew steps in, Earl, becomes our master distiller. When Earl retires, his son, Parker, becomes our master distiller. And then as Parker is battling age and ALS, his son, Craig, who's been trained under him for life, steps in and becomes our master distiller. So from 1935 to 2017, you have a Beam as our master distiller. Then we snag Denny Potter from Baker's Park, and then Connor O'Driscoll. We got an Irishman now making our whiskey. I think his last stop was Angel's Envy before he came here. He's Brown Foreman, Woodford for a while, and then he's with us now. Some of his whiskeys actually Should be hitting the shelf soon because he's hitting almost on year 5. So you'll start seeing some of his stuff on the shelf soon. We're very excited about live yeast. Connor's very adamant you can't take bad distillate, put it in a good barrel, get good whiskey. You want it, you want to control as much as possible from start to finish. People who've been making award-winning whiskey for years with dry yeast, this live yeast is going to be a game changer. It's going to be more consistent, more consistent. You'll get to see the thumper, and you'll get to see the column steel. So 60 foot tall, 66 inches in diameter. The first 2/3 of the column steel, stainless steel wrapped in copper. The final third, you'll see on the 3rd floor, is where it transitions to full copper. F.E.W said that roughly $2.5 million for the thumper and the column steel. And then I'll show you where phase 2 and phase 3 are going. There's already compartment doors in the roof to add the next 2 steels. Come on in.
So that's the old thumper there, which is sort of like a pot still. So after it comes off the column still, the new make goes into that thumper to be further distilled. And it's a continuous system, so the whole thing just keeps going and going and going. The longer you feed it, the more whiskey comes out. You can see those bulbs up there. They do a thing called reflux, something like that. So it's all been designed that it heats up, the alcohol hits those things, some falls back, some continues up, and it produces different flavors and stuff like that. So all real interesting.
Second thumper over there, for the 3rd thumper, you can see the cutout in the ceiling where the pipes will go. Y'all make the same reference. I pick the partners.
Oh, good.
I like proof.
Jerry, how did you compare last year's VBS to this year's?
Okay. No, you can never compare to last year's.
This year's VVS is it just special because of the tasting? There's nothing special that went on as far as vatting or
It doesn't have the backstory that last year's had.
still good though.
For some reason, they so this is special put a red label on it because you usually don't get a back-to-back release.
No, yeah, it's pretty rare.
So here you just get a good look at a lot of our property. Again, it's over 60 acres. So a lot of sustainability efforts we do this. So we keep the brown grass as a tree. We're not here having to wait for it to actually filling out the colorful will be natural and native grasses and wildflowers. There is a natural hardwood forest across from that tree line. Back in December, employees planted 500 native hardwoods, so not just oaks. So it's going to mimic just the natural forest that the early pioneers would have saw as they came into this area untouched. We're going to capture stormwater on the other ends, use it for power, treat it. It's in the back of the county city. We're going to capture wastewater, do the same thing with it. So a lot of natural lighting. We won awards for sustainability here. Icons of Whiskey Magazine, multiple awards that we won, but sustainability is one of those. You also notice as we go through these double doors, during fermentation, a lot of CO2 is produced. These vents are actually going to capture that, and in the future we can model that if we want to, reuse it, sell it. So a lot of options there. We've got a dry house. I'll talk to you about that once we get out back.
What's a dry house?
So we're going to take that wet slop, that stillage, and instead of just shipping it out to farmers, we're going to run it through two big centrifuges, separate the solids from the liquids, and you'll get like a dry cake or a mulch that can be used. Got a longer shelf life. It's healthier. You can actually take some of the liquid that was extracted, turn it into a syrup, mix it in for more protein. A lot of uses for DDG as opposed to just the slop that we turn out. And I don't think there's enough farmers to take all the slop.
That's it. Not enough cows.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Look at the beer first.
And this one.
There.
What was this? Something left over from...
I know. So when you say a hammer mill, like how does it? What are the mechanics inside it that actually crushes the grain, mills it?
Got these big gears that'll run the grain through the. I hear someone talking like that. Worked really well too. Maintenance shops in here.
That's a clean maintenance shop.